Hello and welcome back to another episode of Antimatter Chemistry. In today's episode, as you can see, we're in a slightly different world. This is actually my testing slash thumbnail world. As you can see, this was where I took the thumbnail for episode 1, episode 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 7, uh, that's 8, 9, 10, 11, something like that at least. And this is also where I tested out my setup for the coal and the atom. Yeah, I did to take a screenshot in the atom and all that. And today, at this, I am here. I'm trying to figure out what we're gonna use next for our power source. There are three options: the petrified fuel gen, the biofuel gen, and the protein generator. The petrified fuel is 80 RF per tick, and it basically just uses charcoal or anything like that. The biofuel generator uses biofuel, we'll get that in a bit, and the protein generator uses protein. So I was doing some testing. This generator makes 80 RF per tick, this makes 160, and this makes 320. And I was looking to see which is the best option. One would be the charcoal, meaning we'd have to keep cutting down trees, plus we'd need a bunch of them because that we're making 80 RF per tick at the moment, so that's a no-go. Then there's the biofuel generator, which only makes 160, but from 9 items, and I'll tell you about these items, from 9 items it made 1 million RF, so that's very nice. And this one, from one bucket of protein, makes 1.3 million RF, something like that at least. And I'll tell you, and now I'm gonna tell you the methods that you actually get biofuel and protein, because it's not as simple as I have it here. For biofuel, you need 9 different things, 9 different plants or something. There's actually a list in the biofuel reactor accepted items, and I went through the list and I figured that this was the most efficient setup. I'll tell you exactly why: because you can automate all of these without thermal expansion. And you can automate all of these with thermal expansion, but it takes phyto grow and it's very slow. However, there's a bug that actually I found out. I didn't see it online or something. I figured it out myself with the plant interactor. Let me just, and I'll explain the setup right now. So basically, if you have items like so fully grown in front of the plant interactor, and if I take all of these out, you can see that it's actually gathering them without breaking the crop. So in essence, it's free free crops with only 10 hours per tick, and it's also infinite, and it's very fast. So I went and planted these 5 crops. These are basically all we're gonna need: potatoes, carrots, beetroot seeds, wheat seeds, netherwort. Now we have 5 out of the 9 items. We can also use the beetroots to make a red dye, if you saw here, because the rose red can be made from beetroots. So now that's 6 items just from this tiny little setup. And then we need 3 more. I decided to go with bone meal because we have the mob farm, and it produces a lot of bones, so that's never gonna be an issue. And there's also the spores reactor, which makes mushrooms, and it drains, like, let me see, 10 RF per tick as well. These are just power sources, and this drains 40. So these 2 machines, which basically provide all of these, drain 50 RF per tick, and it can make, I want to see how much it can make with 1 item. Let me just get a fluid trash can or a reservoir. So with one of each, also, how much does this take? Let me just drain this, and this takes also 10 RF per tick. So there's 100, there's 100 RF per tick gain in the system. Plus it makes 1.440 buckets per 9 items. And as you can see, one bucket or 1.44 buckets made 1 million RF. So I'm pretty sure this can run multiple. I guess I could look at the wiki to see the max amount, but I feel it's something like this. And the only thing left is to do the wiring, which I would just use ender chests. So it's a wild ender chest. It's a really viable way to get power, but we're gonna have to replace it in a while after we get into nuclear craft, because these 5 generators make about 160 times 5, that's 800 RF per tick. However, these 3 protein generators, I don't know why, yeah, make 1000 RF per tick and are keeping up with the protein. I've been keeping an eye on this number. It does fluctuate, it does go to 9.5, 9.4, but then it starts up again and refills. So yeah, let me also do that. And now you may be wondering, why am I using this thing to get protein instead of the protein reactor? Because just like there is protein, a bioreactor, there's also a protein reactor, which produces protein based on what meat you put in it. Eggs, rotten flesh and all that, spiralized fish. It's basically the same as the bioreactor, but with meats and stuff. However, getting meats in a flat void world, it's really hard, and I personally don't know how to automate it. Maybe this thingy, but then you'd need a mob encapsulator. Yeah. So that's if I didn't know about this method, this would be out of the question completely. But if you go to protein reactors and you do uses, you can see it makes 1.28 million RF with a bucket of protein. And if you click at the protein, you can see the fluid transposer. You can see the fluid transposer recipes, which are basically, we can just ignore them, the protein reactor recipes and the liquefier recipes, because you can melt protein into protein, and the liquefier can actually melt a lot of things. It can turn water molecules into water, and beryllium into molten beryllium and all that. So if we use raw protein, it's actually incredibly efficient, because one piece of meat, if I do pork chop, gives us 4 protein, and it would give us only 80 millibuckets of protein, but and 2 pork chops would give us 160 millibuckets of protein, but 8 protein molecules would gives us 500 millibuckets of protein. So that's A, that's very efficient, and B, it's a lot easier to acquire protein rather than meat, because you can A, use the chemical dissolver, and there are a bunch of things. Spiralize from our mob farm, which also gives us beta carotene, which you can also turn into coal and use with the petrified fuel generators. Then there's a bunch of carpet, but that's not really, we don't care about that. There's the meats, of course, and rotten flesh, which we have stacks upon stacks upon stacks. Feathers, eggs. We can use eggs, and that's important. Let me just bookmark it there. Otherwise, you can atomize it, which is basically solidifying it, and that. So, how do you get eggs, you might ask? Well, there's no recipe for them. Basically, what you can do is put, let me get a a vacuum hopper, that's fine. And if I place this here and then I get some chicken spawn eggs, I can put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 chickens in this little space. They will be there forever, till eternity, and they will start producing eggs. And if I gather enough chickens, um, I'll basically have eggs 24/7. I remember in my personal world, I used 50 chickens to power roughly 4 to 8 of these. So you see, they are incredible. This is an incredibly broken system. So yeah, I think that's what I'm planning to do. Though the protein generators are really expensive. Protein. They take 2 plastic each, the pistons, and they also take biofuel generators, which take 2 plastic, a machine frame, and blaze rods. Um, if there was no other mod installed, the upgrade would be industrial foregoing bioreactor into the protein reactor. But we can just skip to the final step. But do not worry, I'm definitely gonna use this, the plant interactor bug, because look at all this. We have infinite crops without doing anything. So, for instance, we can use, eventually we're gonna have to get into singularities, and we can just use another word to get the germanium singularity and the selenium singularity, which we're gonna need into the antimatter catalyst for basically ingots and all that. So yeah, that was everything I want to show you. Also, fun fact, for some reason mobs weren't spawning in here, but now they seem to be, so that's that. I don't know when the next episode is gonna come out, because as you can see I have a lot ahead of me. And yeah, anyway, if you like this little tutorial, I guess, explanation, power system, whatever you call it, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and please let me know if you'd like to see more. Till the next one, bye.